Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Hilary Woodhead. I am the CEO here at NAPA, the National Activity Providers Association. And it's an absolute pleasure to be with you as we officially launch the NAPA Learning Space. This is an exciting moment for everyone involved here at NAPA and the wider care sector. We just want to thank everybody that's been involved in the co-production of these courses. Today, we're introducing a learning resource that will support activity providers, care teams, and care providers. The platform is built with one goal in mind: to transform how we provide learning, development, and training to those who are delivering care and activity services every single day. Whether you're just starting out in your role or you're a leader in the field, the NAPA Learning Space will support you at every stage of your journey, ensuring that you have the knowledge, confidence, and skills to provide exceptional person-centred care. So what is the NAPA Learning Space? Well, it is a flexible and comprehensive online learning platform. It's been created by activity providers for activity providers with input from people with lived experience and family carers. It's designed to support all members of the care team, from activity providers and care workers to managers and volunteers. And it offers hundreds of sector-specific courses, some of them ready now and some of them in development that will be with you very, very soon. We've built the learning space with a clear kind of learning pathway from awareness and foundation level courses, intermediate level courses, and advanced level courses and qualifications. So there's a real opportunity here for everybody to learn as they need to, when they're ready to, right from introductory right up to becoming a NAPA recognised activity professional. And each course is designed to help care teams gain practical knowledge and up-to-date skills while ensuring the highest quality, consistent activity and engagement. So we created it because we undertook a national training needs analysis. We spoke to all of our stakeholders, our members, activity providers, and partner organisations, and we asked them what training and development needs they have now. And of course, over the last few years, the way that we all learn has changed quite significantly. We know that meaningful engagement is absolutely central to good and excellent care services. And we know that now more than ever, that there are real challenges to enable people to learn in a classroom environment. And although at NAPA, we still want to provide training and education in the way that you need it and the way that's helpful to you, we also now recognise that a digital approach is an important part of that experience. So we've got various things on offer, including special benefits for our members. So if you are a NAPA member, you can access all that there is available on the NAPA Learning Space. You get a £50 off coupon for all our qualifications, and you can access our Introduction to Activity Provision training course free of charge. And that's available to every single member of staff in every NAPA member setting. So now it is my very great pleasure to introduce you to our special guest. Sue Ascott is a specialist in learning and development, and she's also a valued NAPA trustee. She brings a wealth of experience in training, leadership, and professional development. And she's going to share with us some of her experience, but also some insights, I think, into the essential role of kind of accessible learning and development. So, Sue, please do join us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's nice to see you. So I've got some questions for us to ponder, really, and we'll have a bit of a conversation. And I hope we'll get some more questions as we go from people who are watching us. So the first one is, why is learning, or e-learning, I should say, such an essential role and tool for activity providers?
Great question to start with, because obviously over time, learning preferences have changed and learning methods have changed. And I have to say, e-learning offers by far the greatest flexibility and accessibility for not only activity providers to build skills and knowledge and stay up to date with best practices, but obviously the wider team as well. E-learning provides knowledge and information exactly when it's needed. No waiting until there's a space on the next available planned face-to-face course. And there are a range of studies that show that participants in e-learning take in 5 times more material, more learning through an online course than in a traditional face-to-face course. Why is that? Well, it's largely because online courses give learners full control over their own learning, enabling them to work at their own pace, their own speed. And that's really, really important, particularly in our sector, where we have such a diverse range of people who are working in our teams. And the use of knowledge assessments at the end of e-learning courses supports embedding knowledge and good practice back into the workplace. So you can be sure that the knowledge that you've taken in is staying for a little bit longer and actually there when you need to put it into practice. And we know, of course, the role of the activity team and other care workers is a very practical role, but it must be about good practice alongside up-to-date knowledge. And that knowledge needs to be regularly refreshed to make sure that we're delivering the best standards back in the workplace.
Thank you. What a great start. I think that the accessibility of learning is something we've been waiting a long time for, actually, I think, in the sector, isn't it? And I think as we've all built our confidence a little bit with the digital stuff too. I think, it took me a while, have to say, Sue, it took me a while.
Yeah,
I'm very
me
much an old
too.
school trainer. But it's so important, isn't it, that people can access learning as and when they've got the time and the energy as well.
Yep.
To really make the most of it. So thank you for that. So how can online learning help keep activity provision person-centred and co-produced? Any thoughts on that one?
Again, a really important question, because obviously activity providers know the people in this care setting and their colleagues, but the knowledge of those people and colleagues does need to be matched with best practice knowledge and industry standards. So actually pulling the two together, make sure that it's person-centered and high quality delivery. And I think that's absolutely crucial. And, I've had a look, obviously, at the NAPA learning space, which I love. And, looking at the essential skills in activity provision, for example, we not only look at how to set up the activity to encourage wide participation, but just as importantly, there's great reminders in there about setting goals and targets for evaluation. And sometimes that can be missed, and we need those reminders to put that framework in place so that we are actually reflecting on what we've delivered, evaluating its success. And that's another way of making sure that what we deliver is person-centered. And I really like the fact that online learning is something that can be revisited. It's available on demand, and it's about engaging with the people who use your services, but always bearing in mind that that knowledge needs to come to the fore of the best practice and how to actually make sure that your activity provision and your wider care is delivered for success. And I think the very nature of activity provision does obviously allow a great opportunity for co-production and person-centered delivery. But the messages that are delivered through the online learning remind us to just keep our standards high, rather than just falling into a little bit of complacency, which inevitably can happen, and also to avoid delivering the same thing each time an activity is repeated.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've really tried to do is enable care teams as well to think about their role in meaningful engagement as well. And as you say, those standards around engagement, that it isn't just about an activity, it is about the quality of the interactions and the connections that are being made. And that really helps, doesn't it, when you're looking at the standards, what does it mean to provide a person-centered service, really? So thank you.
Absolutely.
For that. So that bridge then between kind of the difference, I suppose, e-learning can make to embedding meaningful activity into daily care. Any thoughts on that?
Well, to pick up on the point you just made, e-learning ensures that all staff, not just the designated activity team, all staff understand why meaningful activity is important for the well-being of the people in your care setting. And we talk about using a holistic approach, and that does require effective team working and knowledge transfer. We need to share that knowledge amongst ourselves and learn from each other, but always referring back to the online learning, which sets those standards that we need to meet. And I think that's a really important point about spreading it across the whole team.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say about e-learning, which builds a foundation of that knowledge and those skills, is that it means that you have bite-sized modules. And as you say, in today's world, we take in information in a very different way to that which we did 15, 20 years ago, even, maybe even 10 years ago. And we need that bite-sized information to actually stick. And that's what online learning allows you to do, because you can go back, you can repeat a screen if you're not quite clear. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is that I think e-learning increases confidence and creativity, because e-learning is providing that basic foundation, the basis that you need to build from at whatever level, whether that's an introduction or higher levels of learning. You've got that structure, and then staff can build on that. They may be unsure about how to engage meaningfully with people, particularly if you're supporting people for whom they have sensory impairments or language limitations. But the e-learning provides practical tools and examples and inspiration to try different things. And I think that's really important, so that you meet the needs of the individuals and also the people you're working with. And that naturally boosts confidence and creativity. And I think one thing I really like about e-learning is that each time you revisit a module, maybe you're completing the course over a period of time, you revisit the module and you'll look at it differently because of the people that you're supporting and the situations that you're facing. And that can bring the learning to life even more importantly, I think, and it reinforces what you're going to then put into practice.
Yeah, one of the things that has been really lovely to kind of to do is to involve activity providers in the development of the courses, and it's been so lovely that we've been able to actually share some of their case studies actually in the e-learning, so they can see themselves in it as well. And I think that's really important. So for those of you out there who have a go at the NAPA learning space, and and you think, oh, this reminds me of a time when, please tell us about your practice examples, about how you've used any learning really to help support your practice, because it makes it much more, well, it's real life, isn't it? It's real, kind of a real world
it
example.
brings it to life. Yeah, it brings the learning to life. It also reinforces that learning in your mind, because you're anchoring it to an experience or a learning experience that you've had. And therefore, the information recall is much easier because you can relate it to something that you've seen or done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also think, oh, I'm not the only one that's had that challenge or had that similar experience. That reminds me of when this happened to me, or this happened, with somebody I was supporting. So yeah, very important. So you mentioned teamwork, of course, and everybody kind of being on the same page, if you like, and having other access to similar information through e-learning. How can managers use kind of the learning space really to support them to feel a bit more confident, a bit more knowledgeable and inspection ready?
Well, I think it's absolutely crucial that managers are on board with the learning space, are using the learning space themselves. We lead by example, whether we're managers, whether we're team leaders, whatever position we're in. And it's really important that you set that example, because really the key to building confidence in the wider team is to be inspection ready every single day. And one way to be inspection ready is to keep your knowledge up to date. Confidence comes through knowledge, and keeping your knowledge up to date will increase your confidence. And obviously the best way to do that, as a manager particularly, is to set the culture that learning is built into weekly or monthly routines, and really to make learning a good habit, not a task, not a chore, but part of the culture of your service, part of the way we do things around here. Because a learning culture, you can see it and you can feel it when you walk into any service setting. And I see learning as a good habit, which, when it's coupled with new knowledge and the space for reflection, it creates that powerful culture. And anybody who's visiting the service setting, whether they're an inspector or anybody else, they will feel that it's a vibrant learning environment. And having information in learning space at your fingertips, and also, of course, the NAPA shed, which is full of resources, means that managers can be sure that their activity team and their wider teams can have access to best practice and knowledge anytime, anywhere. And I think it's really important that that knowledge is available, coupled with managers creating the environment where, through learning space, they're allowing time for reflection and refresher of knowledge. Particularly, for example, if there's an incident or an accident, creating that time for reflection and some acquiring of new knowledge or a refresher of existing knowledge really, really helps to create that learning environment. Because things will go wrong, but the important thing is that we learn from them and that we get the knowledge we need when we need it.
Yeah, and that there's opportunity to build on that knowledge as well. I think one of the things that we've tried to do, and we'll do much more of this over the coming months, is to have almost like an awareness level course on a topic, then a foundation, then intermediate, then advanced, and then it comes up again in the qualification. You know, there's principles and how you develop your practice to become more of an advanced practitioner. And I think it is about the updates, isn't it? But it's also about what else is there, what's next, what else can I know about this, and that more advanced learning as well. And to take people literally on that journey at a pace that suits them.
And that is what people want to see, is the pathway. They don't want to do learning. None of us wants to learn for the sake of learning. We want to have that pathway that means that we feel we're moving forward, we're keeping up to date with knowledge, we're using the knowledge and skills, and actually there's a place for us to go next in terms of our development. And that's the way to keep open minds and curious learners.
Absolutely. And that you're never done. We're never done, are we?
Yeah. No way.
We can never know everything. And I think that's, especially with a topic like activity provision.
Thank goodness, thank goodness.
Yeah. Wouldn't life be boring if everybody knew everything? Absolutely. So from your experience then, what skills and knowledge do you think activity teams most need to keep up to date?
Well, I think the first thing to say is knowledge is crucial and it must be kept up to date, because we're in a fast-paced changing world. Knowledge does need to be refreshed, renewed, and then brought back and into the workplace for the benefit of the people that you're supporting. And an example that I'll take is effective communication skills. I think for the activity team and the wider team, communication within the team, but communication with the people you're supporting is absolutely crucial. And, you know, activity teams need to keep pace, not only with the changing needs of the people that they're supporting, but also their family and their friends. And we need to address the fact that sometimes we'll need new techniques to try with people, particularly when people who we're supporting, their health or their needs change somewhat. So I think communication skills are the first thing I would say. The next thing I would say is the skills around inclusion. And I don't just mean around diversity, but also, and more importantly for me even, is reflecting the fact that we are living in a very fast changing world, and we need to include not only the existing interests and needs of the people we support, but also new and evolving interests to keep things fresh. I took for an example, you know, who would have thought even 5 or 10 years ago that we would be so proud of women's football teams, women's rugby teams, or if you think of the gardens, that we would be so getting so much joy from wildflower patches. 5, 10 years ago, those things just were regarded as weeds. And now we've changed, and we need to bring those new interests and opportunities for joy into our practice. And I think these changes really, for me, reflect the pace at which the activity providers need to work. And therefore, we need to support them through tools like Learning Space to keep their knowledge and their skills up to date. And I think my third thing links to that, really, which is the skill to remain curious. I've mentioned it already, but to me, that's really the important thing of anybody in any care team, is to be curious, always want to be learning, be curious about the interests of other people and the direction that we're all traveling in, because we don't want to do the same thing year after year after year. We want to keep things fresh and new. And Learning Space offers those fantastic opportunities, not only to keep your activities up to date, but to keep your own development up to date. Things like mindfulness, things like breathing, things that you can do for your own well-being, which naturally then create opportunities for you to bring fresh energy into the workplace setting. And I think that's really important. And in terms of CPD, as you mentioned, Hilary, it's fantastic that Learning Space offers different levels from awareness right through to qualifications, because we all want to keep our own continuing professional development and career development going. Even if we don't see ourselves careering towards promotions, we still need to be moving forward, because otherwise we get left behind. And the world is changing so rapidly. When you think of digital progression and how adept we all are now at using online tools and what have you, we need to keep that going. And I think that's about our own personal development and our career development.
Wow. Amazing. I could just listen to you till midnight. Amazing. So we've mentioned already that, that the nature of e-learning is very flexible, and people can, work at their own speed, when it suits them, times that suit them, when they have the energy that they need to learn. How can e-learning also kind of help tackle some of the challenges that we have, particularly at the moment in care services, like, shift patterns, time pressures, staff turnover? Any thoughts on this, how on-demand kind of learning can help with that?
Well, I think the answer to that is in that phrase, on demand. I think it's absolutely crucial that we have accessibility and opportunity. And of course, in the environment of a care setting, we must fit in around the routines of colleagues, outside professionals, and of course, the people we're supporting. And plans can change very quickly. So you may have a whole timetable of things planned out, things need to change. And having on-demand learning allows learners to stop and resume training when time allows. And it also allows training to be planned in for quieter times, which is particularly important for those who work evenings or weekends, where flexible learning is so, so important. And also just naturally occurring quieter times during the day. And I think that's the absolute benefit. And again, with a learning mindset, it doesn't become a task that you have to do. It becomes an opportunity. Oh, it's a bit quiet, so I'll go and finish some learning, or I'll go and start some learning. And I think that's the pure benefit of online learning. And then if I think about the issue of staff turnover, I really passionately believe in the power of online learning to be part of good quality induction training. Because naturally, when a new person joins, plans will change and there'll be downtimes, and they can be scheduled to do some of their online learning, get that knowledge, and then learn from the people around them how to put it into practice. And I think that's absolutely crucial. And I think my final point on this one is really about the greatest benefit of flexible online learning is it gives all learners an opportunity to go at their own pace. And I've seen so many care teams where there are people for whom English is not their first language, or where colleagues have learning difficulties. And the flexibility of online learning allows that individual to move through the course at their own pace. Yeah. And with text on screen, I've seen some fantastic examples of where really language confidence has been built by looking at text on screen, or being able to go back to a previous page and build that confidence.
I think sometimes we really outpace people, don't we, when it comes to learning? I think about, having been a trainer, most of my professional career, I've been a trainer in some way or other. And I think I look back and think about, I really trained I think I trained at my speed a lot of the time, at the way
Yes.
that I like to learn, which is, you know,
Yeah.
quick, on with it. And actually, I look back and think, blimey, how many people were a bit left behind in that experience?
Exactly.
And this type of learning really does enable people, doesn't it, to not just learn at their own pace, but to actually enjoy their learning too, because they don't feel as though they're being outpaced. They don't feel as though they're kind of just running to keep up. I think that's really powerful when you said that. Actually, it really did make me think that.
Well, when we're delivering face-to-face training, we're working to a timetable, aren't we? And we've got to get a whole group of people to the end point at the same time. And yes, one of my fears has always been who's being left behind. And I've seen really powerful evidence of how people have overcome some of their language difficulties through their e-learning and being able to take their time and build confidence.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Sue. So obviously this is all in one place. Why is that? Why do you think having, you know, lots of courses, hundreds of courses, sector specific, all in one place? Because there's lots of places you can go for great learning out there. But the fact that this is here, how might that be helpful, do you think, to care and activity teams?
I think this is the absolute beauty of learning space, is that, you know, we've all become increasingly used to having information at our fingertips. We search in all sorts of places for our information. But increasingly, we're seeing a need to trust the source of our information. How do we know that what we're looking at is true and is high quality? And having all this information, over 150 courses in the NAPA learning space, just gives learners, managers confidence that it's a trusted supplier, a trusted source of information. There's such a range of activities to undertake through the courses in learning space, but you can be sure that the information is coming from a trusted source in NAPA. And I think that's absolutely priceless.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. I think we might have a few questions that we'd like to answer. I'm just aware of the time. So I think my colleague Jana, yes, thank you. So this one is from Sarah. What dementia training is available? Okay. So shall I take this one? This one. There's lots of dementia training available on the NAPA learning space from, as we said, from different levels, but also different topic areas. So I think the vast majority, when we spoke to activity providers, the vast majority said we need more ideas, need more resources, need more inspiration around working with people with dementia, but particularly people with dementia perhaps who are cared for in bed, who are experiencing the more advanced stages of dementia, where there are communication challenges, perhaps where the need to interact with others is more on a sensory level. So we've really reflected that in the NAPA learning space. So there are courses around supporting people who are living with dementia in terms of reminiscence activities, music-based activities, sensory engagement, but also the qualification. We have 2 qualifications at level 2. One which is activity provision for people living with dementia, and one which is activity provision for people living with learning disability. So you can choose which route to take. But also we've broken down every unit within the level 2 qualification as a standalone training course in its own right. So if you're not quite ready yet to do the whole qualification, you can do those individual units too. So there's lots available. And if you think actually, oh, what I'm looking for is this, and you can't quite see it, let us know. Because what we want to do is develop the courses that you need. So there is plenty on there, Sarah. Please have a look, have a dig around. We have a course directory that lists all of the training courses that are on there at the moment. And that's going to be, look, just by magic, Jana, thank you, that just appeared. That will be updated every month. So as our courses go live, this will be on a link that you can access that will be a live representation of the courses that are available to you. And we will be developing many more that are specific to working with people living with dementia. Great question, Sarah. Thank you. Is there another one? Do we have a time for another one? So, Sue, this one's for you, I think. This is from Rachel. How do I motivate colleagues to use e-learning, especially if it's new to them, I suppose?
Yeah, great question. I think the important thing is to create that culture of learning where there's time for learning and time for reflection, and to make it more than just a task that has to be done. And actually, the more confident people can be with using a computer, using their tablet, whatever device they're looking at these courses on, the more you will see other benefits. There'll be wider benefits than just them completing their e-learning. But e-learning is a fabulous place to start in terms of motivating people. There's great, you get a certificate through Learning Space, which I found is really nice and motivating. People want to take pride in the learning that they've done. And I think it's just about creating that culture and leading by example as a manager.
Yeah, get in there and do some of the courses too. There's some great courses for managers in there as well. And I think also the other thing about motivating colleagues is actually getting them to talk about their e-learning with each other. Because you know, can be quite a solo activity learning, can't it, as opposed to being in a training space. So is there an opportunity in staff handovers in your 10 at 10 or your team meetings to say, where are people at with their e-learning? What are they enjoying about it? What were the challenges? And just get them to talk about it. So that brings it to life as well, doesn't it?
And celebrate the success. You know, if someone's completed something, get them to talk about the certificate, how they feel about the fact that they've achieved that course, and inspire others to go on and get that new knowledge too.
And if you're sharing your, you know, the fact that you, Rachel, when you complete your training, or you've motivated a colleague to complete their e-learning, you know, take a picture of them and their certificate, pop it on social media, tag NAPA, we'll share it too. You know, let's really celebrate all this fantastic achievement, because it is, you know, it does take effort and energy to complete learning. And we need to be celebrating it and acknowledging it. It's all part of professionalising our workforce as well, isn't it? That acknowledgement. So brilliant. I think we've got time for one more question. What's this one? This next one. This is Rachel again. How do I align a mixed experience team? How do I align a mixed experience team? Oh, I suppose this is about people doing e-learning at different levels.
Yeah, and also recognising, I suppose, the different length of service that people have, the different experience they have of working in care. You might have somebody who's brand new versus somebody who's been in the sector for a long time. To me, I think the knowledge that comes through your e-learning is a great leveler, because that sets the standard of knowledge and skills that everybody needs to have. And actually, we often find that people with longer service have just as much to learn as people who are new to the sector, because things have changed over a period of time. And again, coming back to inspection ready and things like that, that's the kind of culture you want to show, is that we're all learning together and we can all learn from each other.
Yeah. And I think also something about a mixed experience team, if you've got one or two members of the team that are more digitally confident or savvy, they can be your e-learning champions. You know, get them alongside somebody who's a little bit nervous, who hasn't perhaps done much e-learning before, because I think the mixed experience is very much about the topics, but it's also about kind of digital competences and confidence as well, isn't it? So, you know, I know in my team, there are definitely people in my team that I go to that are much more digitally savvy than I am, and they enjoy helping me as well, I think, and then they get something from that, and I obviously then feel a little bit more confident too. So I think, you know, that mixed experience team, you can sort of slice that in many ways. That question, that was a good question.
And the key is to use the experiences where they are. You know, very often people who are new to the sector will bring knowledge and skills, particularly digital skills if they're younger. Confidence comes with youth, doesn't it, sometimes, and they can bring that into your wider team.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. So I think we're time up, but thank you all very, very much for listening. We'd love to hear what you think of the NAPA Learning Space. Please drop us a note. If you have any questions, please get in touch. So it's just enquiries@napa-activities.co.uk. But for now, thank you very much. Thank you, Sue.
My pleasure. Lovely to talk to you all.
Bye for now.